Hey guys, I hope all is well. Welcome back to the Truth Talk podcast. I'm back here with MI.
What's up, guys?
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Jas Prince and the Takeoff situation. As since the situation happened, a lot of people have been pointing fingers at Jas Prince Jr. and the Mob Ties camp. Let's get right into it. A couple days ago, the tragic situation happened with Takeoff. And ever since that situation happened, people have been questioning the Mob Ties crew. If you guys don't know what the Mob Ties crew is, it's a Houston-based crew that's ran by Jas Prince. Jas Prince is a Houston legend, and he's responsible for Drake's career alongside of many other artists, and he's a local legend in that area. But behind the scenes, people also look at him as the boogeyman of hip-hop. He's the one that, calls the shots and get things done, and he's the one that makes people disappear when they act up or go against whatever he wants to go against. Jas Prince Jr., which is the son of Jas Prince, played a very important role in the situation that happened to Takeoff. Apparently, what they're saying now is that Jas Prince Jr. was basically offering security to Takeoff and Quavo that night when that situation happened. Apparently, Jas Prince Jr. was there when the whole entire situation happened, and he even walked over Takeoff while Takeoff was on the floor passing away. He literally just steps over him, and people are saying that he walks away with the man that was responsible for what happened to Takeoff. Now, MI was one who wanted us to talk about this situation. He feels that the Mob Ties played a very important role and are the ones that are truly responsible for the situation. Isn't that what you said, MI?
We already know what they're about. We know that they extorting all these rappers for protection. We know that Quavo was arguing with them who supposedly was supposed to be protecting them. So, just like they protect every other artist, just something got out of hand that day.
The way I look at it is, like I said, I still believe that the entire situation was a ritual sacrifice, but I do think that Jas Prince plays a role in this. I also feel like Jas Prince Sr. is a Freemason. I've been looking into him. I've seen enough proof that assures me that he's a Freemason.
Listen, let me ask you one thing, bro. You see what you just said about him being a legend and where he's from? Do you think that they're gonna allow something like that to happen accidentally? No, that was all a setup, for sure. Whether it was a sacrifice or if it was a hit, this was a setup. This was planned from the beginning.
I 100% agree. And I've said this to people over and over again. There's one part of the Messy music video with Quavo and Takeoff that I myself didn't talk about for some reason, even though I was aware of it already. In the video, it shows Quavo picking up a contract that says the Migos on it. It's a piece of paper. We're assuming it's a contract because it seems like it's a contract. It says Migos on the top of it and is written as if it was a contract. Right when they show the scene in the video, they show Quavo flashing his weapon, and then later in the video, they show Takeoff next to a Halloween decoration that has a Reaper on it with the words RIP. Now, I wasn't born yesterday. When I see something like this, I know exactly what's going on. This is foreshadowing at its finest. They're letting us know what was going to happen. Literally, I think the video came out the day before Takeoff passed away. This situation, when you start to add that up, and then when you look at the video, in the video, it appears that someone was already targeting Takeoff the entire situation. There's one scene of the video that shows a man clutching on to his weapon, looking at Takeoff, grilling him, and it almost appears that he's like waiting for a signal for him to do what happened. I think that signal was when Quavo walked away and said, "I don't want to have to hurt nobody." And then boom, the whole situation broke out. To me, that looks like a direct signal. The Mob Ties, they really do have these big artists in their back pocket. We see it with Drake. Drake is always shouting them out. He made that famous Mob Ties song for them. He was threatening Kanye West with the Mob Ties. So it appears that these people are truly a force to be reckoned with within the industry. But I still think that they're all Masonic. I still think that they fall under the Masons. I think that they operate in that system.
Listen, we got Fabulous. You got P. Diddy's kids, Lil Durk, Tory Lanez, Chris Brown, Drake, Quavo, Young Thug. They have boxers. Even Anuel checks in with Mob Ties when they're in Houston.
And that should tell people something there. You can say, oh, it's street and it's all protection. It's to make sure nothing happens to these artists. But if you were to ask me, there's way more to it.
No, but people could say that it was a freak accident. Like we just seeing, they protecting all these artists, right or wrong. They're not going to slip up like this. They're not going to allow one of their own members to get crazy out of hand with the bag. You know what I'm saying? That was set up.
Exactly. They're calling this a freak accident now. That to me is the most interesting thing ever, when there's so much footage of the situation and none of it looks like an accident. It all looks like it was supposed to happen. It looked very coordinated, and it looked like Quavo knew what was going to happen because he got himself out the way. He started exiting towards the door while Takeoff was still in the back. He didn't even call for Takeoff. He didn't say, hey, Takeoff, we're leaving now. Come on, let's go. No, he just literally walks away and it all goes down.
You know, and that's another thing, what you just said there. Why do people still consider this to be an accident when Quavo just clearly walks away and leaves his nephew behind with a bunch of dudes that he's feeling like hurting from what he said before he walked away?
Yeah, they were having an altercation that was looking like it was about to get really bad. And Quavo walks away, leaving, like you said, his nephew behind. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. To me, if I arrive at a place with my family or anybody, a friend, and I'm about to leave, I'm calling out to my friend, hey, I'm leaving, you coming with me or you're staying? I'm just not gonna walk away. That doesn't make any sense. But it makes sense if the entire situation was just a setup, was just a front to hide what was truly supposed to happen that night. Because like I said, what I already said is happening. That song, Messy, it already got millions of views. Takeoff would have not passed. This song would have not gotten those many views. I'm pretty sure their streams are through the roof right now. And the only people that are truly benefiting from this is the record label, Quavo, and now Offset as well, because Offset is part of the Migos, so he's collecting that bag as well. I'm telling you, in all honesty, I do feel what happened that night was set up, and the evidence just speaks for itself. Especially like you said, we're dealing with these mob ties, guys, that everybody is so afraid of. Everybody has to respect. So maybe, you know what? Maybe the label, who was having already issues with these people, got in touch with the mob ties guys and made a few calls. Maybe it wasn't Quavo. But it's just that when you look at the Messy video, doesn't it look like Quavo knew what was going to happen when you see all these foreshadowing signs in it?
Yeah, it kind of hints, it sort of hints to something. And we've seen this play over many times before where they throw hints in a video and then boom, they're gone. So yeah, I agree with that. But we know mob ties do not make mistakes, especially within the crew. That's a structural organization right there.
I agree. I don't think they make mistakes like that either.
They want to call themselves a mob, you know, it's a mafia. You know, mafia is organized crime people. They're not going to make a mistake and accidentally let an argument over basketball escalate to and taking the life of a superstar rapper that's under their protection.
People are saying the argument was about basketball, but if we're really going to say the argument stands, it looks like Quavo's arguing about losing a lot of money and not giving the opportunity to win it back. That's what it looks like they were arguing about. And that's when he walks off saying, I'm about to hurt somebody, and the things go off. I analyzed the conversation several times because when I make these videos, I want to make sure that I get, you know, a good understanding of what I'm talking about. In that situation, I didn't just say it was a sacrifice because another celebrity passed away. That's not true. What we need to understand is that the proof was right there for everyone to see. If we're speaking about mob ties, we're speaking about the guys who run Houston, who no one would want to, you know, do wrong by. How would this situation happen? I'm with the boss's son, who's basically the second boss. I'm gonna make a mistake and let him down, knowing that he's in the room and something could have happened to him. That right there doesn't make any sense.
Then he walks over the body of Takeoff like nothing. Jas Prince. This was a setup, whether it was a sacrifice or not. This was a call from somebody higher up, and it was done.
You know what's interesting about that is that, if I'm not mistaken, early on, I clicked on a video that Academics was covering about the situation. And he starts talking about that Jas Prince Jr. was saying that he was at home the whole time, that he was sleeping when this thing went down.
What? Was it Jay or Jazz?
He said that Jas Prince Jr. said that he wasn't there. And that's who was there, because everyone in the live stream was saying that. But he was there. He's the one that walked over the body. He just walked over Takeoff and just kept going like nothing happened. People were already seeing that. So don't get me wrong. Maybe he was just trying to distance himself in a situation. But I don't think the narrative that is being painted is what really happened. I don't think it was a freak accident. I don't think that this wasn't supposed to happen. I think this was pre-planned, set up. In my opinion, mob ties either got paid for this or they have a different alternative agenda for making this happen. This was a setup, and mob ties played the part in that. That's in my opinion.
Listen, you're right. That all of this, like we said, it comes from the higher ups. If Jas Prince Sr. is not given a green light, then nothing like that is supposed to happen. Even if his son says, let's do it, it has to come from the higher up. And there's always somebody higher than Jas Prince. So we don't know who made that call, you know, but this was definitely a setup. And if you don't see it, you need to pay closer attention to the details.
And look, just think about it like this. Like you said, there's higher ups. What would Jas Prince Jr. or even Jas Prince himself, what would they get out of doing something to Takeoff? It's not like Takeoff was their enemy. It's not like they had any beef with Takeoff or Quavo or any of them. You know, they were always hanging out when they pulled up to the studio. We saw them there. And the Migos even has songs where they're shouting out the mob ties, you know? Honestly, to me, it didn't make sense for this to happen to Takeoff by the hands of mob ties, unless there's a sinister motive behind it that we're not seeing, which I believe, like I said, was a ritual offering. It was for the harvest, for the October harvest that happens every year. We lose celebrities every year around this same time. It's not a coincidence, people. It's not an accident. Last year, the Astrofest event happened around the same time. Bodies and bodies and bodies all happening around the harvest, all happening during Samhain, during the time where the pagans used to perform these sacrifices to the god of death. It is not a coincidence. We just need to open our eyes. Takeoff, believe it or not, in my opinion, was an offering to the god of death. It was an offering for a good harvest. Now the Migos are going to have that good harvest. It's just sadly, Takeoff is not going to be here. We've seen this countless times. Like I said, Kanye West did it with his mother. He even admits this out of his own mouth. He gave up his mother for the ultimate success and fame. Now he has the world. This is the price that some of these artists have to pay if they want the world.
Yep, and now he's trying to get rid of it. He's trying to be all godly now after he made that comment on stage about, I sold my soul to the devil. I know it was a crappy deal, but it came with a few toys like a Happy Meal. You know what he's talking about? Who he sacrificed? His mother.
Kanye West is one of them that admits it a lot. I just spoke about Kanye West in the last podcast episode, and I found it interesting how he was talking about being on the MK Ultra. If you guys want to see that, you guys can check out the last podcast. But back to the mob ties. When we look at the mob ties, like M.I. said, this should have not happened because the mob ties are one of the most feared organizations. Now, don't get me wrong, things do happen. But for what? I would understand if something happened to Quavo, who was in the direct argument, who started everything, and the problem was because of him. But it wasn't. And why was there people after Takeoff already, the entire situation? Why was there people grilling him down and on him if this wasn't all about him? You know, the lack of communication that's coming from this entire situation, the lack of honesty, it should be alarming to people because there's cameras that caught footage. We saw what happened. We saw how his body was there and Jas Prince walked over it. We saw how Quavo just walked away from his own family. This is what we need to see. This is what we need to understand. The industry does a really good job of manipulating people and convincing them that nothing really happened. Like they're saying, it's a freak accident. It's a freak accident. I don't believe it. I think the mob ties, they got paid for this. They made a bag off this. And I believe that Quavo is going to make a lot more money now. Their career was going down, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Listen, nobody lasts, and we know this, these artists last about 5 to 6 years, 3 years, you know. These dudes been out for 10 years, and they still were sort of relevant before this happened. They were losing all that clout, and now boom, they back in the limelight. Especially Quavo's in the limelight like crazy right now.
Yeah, everybody's showing him so much love. He's gonna reap all the benefits from this. Honestly, when we look at the entire situation, it's very obvious that a ritual offering took place. If we analyze why Jas Prince was even there to begin with, he was supposed to be protecting the Migos, protecting Quavo and Takeoff. Their argument breaks out. Everyone starts to have a problem with each other, all this and this. But the dude that started the problem is okay. The one that was minding his business is not. That right there to me was a big red flag since the very beginning. But now when we hear that they're calling this a freak accident, how in any way is this a freak accident?
There's no way it could be a freak accident, man. Like, people need to really pay attention. When have you ever heard, out of all the artists, out of all the athletes that go and check in with the mob ties, you give me one time that you've heard about something like this ever happening? You've never heard it. You will not hear it because they don't move sloppy. Once again, they move militant. This was planned since before Takeoff got there. They already knew, listen, he's going to come over here. We're going to supposedly protect him. He's not going back home. They already knew this, bro. They're not going to do this out of the blue. They're too militant. They're too structured, bro. Why is Quavo, think about it, super millionaire, multi-millionaire, gonna be crying about losing maybe $100,000 probably in the dice game?
Why is he at a dice game with a bunch of hood people in a city that he's not even from? I understand, okay, if Quavo and Takeoff were in Atlanta at a dice game with a bunch of their old-time friends, that makes perfect sense. They're from that city. But he's in Houston, in an unknown city where he's not from, that's not his people. Why is he hanging out with these type of people? You know, why not go to a casino where they have full-on security, where he can have a whole section to himself and be in a protected place? This whole thing just seemed like bait. Like, yeah, how can we make this believable? Okay, if we make it happen in a chaotic situation, we can get away with it. And this is exactly what we're seeing. They set this up. They made it a chaotic situation. All the other stuff that happened around it is what's keeping it from being an open and shut case of it being a hit. It's not a hit because they're saying, oh yeah, it broke out a fight and this happened. And I'm pretty sure the mob ties probably have the police in their pockets, especially in Houston.
Oh yeah, listen, yo, if you look at that video good, Quavo's man is there with his hand on the joint, ready, clutching it, moving it around. Like, I'm pretty sure somebody seen that. And us coming from the streets, you know, where we come from, if I'm standing there and I see you grabbing onto it, I'm gonna take action right away. I'm not gonna wait until everything pops off and I walk away. There's too many people to not notice that he got his hand on his joint and he's clutching it because he's moving it around. He's ready. You know, he had his hand on it, but nobody noticed that or clapped him first. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, now that whole thing didn't make sense. And they're also saying that one of the people that did that to Takeoff was part of Quavo's entourage, was hanging out in pictures with Quavo and stuff like this. So that doesn't make sense. How do you make a mistake that big? Takeoff is Quavo's nephew. That's your own crew. Now, when we talk about the Jas Prince walking away with the guy, that's eerie. That's even more strange to me because if I'm Jas Prince Jr. and I'm responsible for the situation and I see this guy does this, I'm not walking away with him. I'm telling him there's going to be problems for you. At the end of the day, he was supposed to be in charge of their security, but I don't think that's what he was there for. Like I said, I honestly feel Takeoff was a ritual offering for the harvest. The Migos are literally having this good harvest. They're going to get everything that they wanted. They're going to continue to have another 15 minutes of fame and continue to evolve in the industry. That's what I believe this was for. When we keep analyzing the situation, it just becomes more and more obvious. These mob ties guys are the ones that if you want something like this done, you give them a call. Don't you think?
100%.
That's what I honestly feel happened that night. Well, that's it for this episode, guys. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.
I just wanted to give a special shout out to the Truth Movement members. I truly appreciate every single one of you. If you'd like to further support the channel, join the Truth Movement, or you can join me on Patreon where I drop exclusive videos monthly. The link would be in the description. Another way you can further support the channel is by checking out the Truthfist store and seeing if you find anything you like. Every purchase you make helps with the funding of Truth Records. The link to the Truthfist store is also in the description. Also, please leave a comment on your thoughts on this video and on any future topics you would like to see me cover on my channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified of future videos. If you like this video, please leave a like as it helps other people find these videos. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram and follow me there. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.